Welcome to Stamps Old World UK, the home of passionate philatelists and history lovers alike. In today's in-depth video, we're going to explore a fascinating topic that has caught the attention of both seasoned collectors and new hobbyists: the market value of vintage stamps in today's dollar. We're going to focus on one special stamp that reflects the elegance, power, and craftsmanship of a bygone era, the one halfpenny stamp from Malta, featuring the regal portrait of Queen Victoria. This stamp is not only a valuable collectible in today's stamp market, but also a deeply historical artifact that reflects a unique period in both British and Maltese history. As we take this journey through philatelic value, rarity, and market demand, we'll discuss how stamps like this one are being appraised in 2024, what collectors are really looking for, and how the value of such pieces can range from just a few dollars to thousands, depending on very specific features. The stamp you see on your screen, the classic one halfpenny stamp from Malta, is one of the most iconic colonial-era stamps ever issued. It showcases the profile of Queen Victoria in a striking classical style, framed with intricate engravings of laurel branches that represent victory and sovereignty. Originally issued during the late 19th century when Malta was still under British rule, this stamp served a simple purpose: to prepay postage on everyday letters. But today, it represents something much greater. It is a symbol of a rich postal heritage, a relic of empire, and a window into the daily lives of people over 100 years ago. When properly preserved, stamps like this can carry impressive value in today's collector's market. In average used condition, this stamp might bring a collector between $10 and $30. However, if you're lucky enough to have a mint condition stamp, and used, well-centered, and with perfect gum, it could easily be worth between $100 and $500. Or even more if it contains a printing error or rare watermark. As we dive deeper into the 2024 stamp market, it's important to understand how stamp values are assessed in the modern world. Stamp collecting, or philately, has evolved into a refined and highly organized community with global trade, online auction houses, certified dealers, grading systems, and international price guides. In today's dollar-based market, the value of older stamps like the Malta one halfpenny is determined by several key factors. These include the stamp's physical condition, whether it is torn, faded, or stained, the centering of the design, whether the stamp is mint or used, the presence of original gum on the back, and the rarity of specific printing versions or watermarks. Rarity plays a major role. If only a few examples of a particular stamp survive in excellent condition, the value increases dramatically. For example, certain variations of the Queen Victoria Malta stamp with unusual perforations or a shifted image can fetch thousands of dollars at high-profile auctions. In 2024, the global stamp collecting community remains vibrant. According to recent statistics from major auction platforms like Spink, Stanley Gibbons, Cherry Stone, and Heritage Auctions, there has been a steady increase in the buying and selling of vintage stamps from the British Empire era. Collectors from the United States, Canada, the UK, India, Australia, and even countries in East Asia such as China and Japan are actively participating in this growing market. Many are seeking high-quality examples of Queen Victoria and King Edward VII stamps from colonies like Malta, Ceylon, India, and British Guiana. The nostalgia for imperial designs, combined with the fact that many of these stamps are over 100 years old, fuels this demand. The Malta one halfpenny stamp, for instance, is considered a cornerstone item for anyone building a collection of colonial Maltese stamps or anyone focusing on Queen Victoria-era issues. When examining the current dollar value of similar historical stamps, we find that the market remains surprisingly strong. While common stamps in poor condition may only bring in a few dollars, those that are rare and well-preserved consistently achieve much higher prices. As of now, mint Queen Victoria stamps from the British Empire often range from $750 to over $5,000, depending on how rare and flawless they are. Even used examples with unique postmarks, especially from small or now-defunct post offices, can reach $1,000 to $5,000 if they're historically significant. For serious collectors, acquiring these stamps is not just about completing a collection, it's about owning a piece of global history. It is a reminder of how the British postal system once connected even the most distant colonies through elegant, hand-engraved stamps. For those of you who are just starting your stamp collecting journey or have inherited an old album, this is an exciting time to learn, sort, and potentially sell or trade. Start by identifying what you have. Look for stamps from the late 1800s to early 1900s, especially those from British territories. Check the back of each stamp for its gum condition, examine the edges for clean perforations, and try to identify whether there are any errors, watermarks, or printing anomalies. All of these details can drastically change a stamp's value. If you're unsure about how to price a stamp, consult catalogs like the Scott Catalog, Stanley Gibbons, or even online platforms like Connect, Delcamp, and eBay, where you can compare live listings and recently sold items. You can also reach out to local or online stamp appraisal services for a professional opinion. Stamps with certification by experts often sell for 20% to 100% more than non-certified examples. So what makes the Malta 1 halfpenny stamp still so popular and valuable in the modern world? It is a mixture of history, design, rarity, and sentiment. Queen Victoria stamps are universally recognized and admired. Malta, being a small island nation with a rich colonial past, issued stamps in limited numbers, which adds to their rarity today. And this particular issue, handsome, well-crafted, and steeped in Victorian charm, embodies all the qualities that collectors desire. In the market today, you might find this stamp at a local dealer for $25 to $75 in fair condition. On the higher end, certified and graded examples can be found at international auctions starting at $200 and reaching up to $1,000 if the stamp is part of a rare printing group or has exceptional provenance. Next up, the Three Halfpence stamp featuring the distinguished profile of King George V. This is not just a stamp, it's a piece of living history, a window into the British Empire during its prime, and a highly sought-after collectible with real monetary value in today's stamp market. Whether you are new to collecting or a lifelong enthusiast, understanding the true value of this stamp in today's dollars, its background, printing history, and what makes it desirable to collectors is essential in building a meaningful and possibly profitable stamp collection. The Three Halfpence stamp, also known as the 1/1/2D King George V stamp, was issued as part of the definitive series during the early decades of the 20th century. First introduced around 1911 and continuing through the 1920s and beyond, this stamp was widely used for domestic and international postal services. Its value, 1.5 pence, was specifically chosen to meet standard postage rates of the time, making it a very common yet essential denomination in everyday postal life. The design of the stamp is nothing short of majestic. At its center is the finely engraved side profile of King George V, also known as the Stamp Collector King, who was himself an avid philatelist. His personal collection, now known as the Royal Philatelic Collection, is one of the most valuable stamp collections in the world. This personal interest in stamps ensured that under his reign, stamp production reached new levels of detail and artistic excellence. Surrounding the portrait of King George V are key royal symbols, the crown above, ornate scrolls on the sides, and maritime imagery like the dolphins at the bottom corners, which emphasize Britain's naval dominance during the imperial era. The stamp also prominently features the words postage and revenue at the top, which means it was valid for both postal and fiscal use, adding to its utility and historical importance. These stamps were printed in various colors over the years, but the one we are focusing on today, the deep reddish-brown version, is among the most visually appealing and collectible, especially when it retains strong color and clean edges. This specific version continues to appear in major auctions, historical collections, and stamp exhibits across the world, making it a core item for serious British Empire collectors. Now let's talk about the current value of the Three Halfpence King George V stamp in today's dollars. The market value of any historical stamp depends on a combination of key factors: condition, rarity, watermark, printing variation, centering, and whether it's mint or used. In used condition, this stamp usually sells for $5 to $15 in the retail or online market. However, collectors pay far more for well-preserved, mint condition versions. A mint stamp that has never been hinged and still retains its original gum can be worth between $25 and $100. If the stamp features a rare printing error, such as a missing perforation, color variation, or incorrect watermark, its value can rise significantly, sometimes fetching hundreds or even thousands of dollars at auction. For example, a perfectly centered, mint 3 halfpence stamp with a rare watermark or a plate number from a scarce printing series has been known to sell for over $500, especially when professionally graded and certified. Certification plays a huge role in the modern philatelic market. Collectors and investors alike prefer stamps that have been authenticated by expert services such as the Royal Philatelic Society London, the British Philatelic Association, or the Philatelic Foundation. A certificate of authenticity that details the stamp's condition, watermark, and rarity can increase its value dramatically and help sellers command premium prices. On platforms like eBay, Delcamp, and heritage auctions, certified stamps often sell faster and at higher prices compared to uncertified examples. For collectors with an eye for investment, These stamps are more than just beautiful, they are assets, and their values are steadily appreciating over time, especially as fewer well-preserved examples remain on the market. In 2024, the global market for vintage British stamps remains strong, with growing interest not just in the UK but in countries like the United States, Canada, Australia, India, and even across Asia. Many collectors are focusing on complete sets from the reigns of British monarchs, and King George V remains one of the most collected monarchs in the philatelic world. This has resulted in an increase in both demand and value for stamps from his era. What was once considered a common postage stamp can now be a significant addition to any serious collection, especially if it's part of a specialized theme such as British revenue stamps, King George V definitives, or maritime royal symbols. There are also thematic collectors who collect stamps featuring royal portraits, and the Three Halfpence stamp fits beautifully within that niche. It's also worth noting that full stamp sheets, blocks of 4, and stamps with plate numbers are particularly desirable. A block of mint-condition Three Halfpence stamps can multiply the total value considerably, sometimes reaching $500 to $2,000 depending on rarity and centering. Collectors also seek out used-on-cover examples, where the stamp is still attached to the original envelope. If the envelope has a readable postmark from a rare location or date, the value can increase exponentially. Historical context, such as wartime usage or commercial correspondence, also enhances appeal. If you're new to stamp collecting or have inherited a collection, the Three Halfpence King George V stamp is a perfect gateway into the world of serious philately. Start by sorting your collection, examining stamps under magnification, and checking for watermarks and perforation types. Use reliable references such as the Stanley Gibbons British Commonwealth Catalogue or the Scott Classic Specialized Catalogue. These books provide comprehensive price guides and historical notes to help you identify valuable stamps and variations. Joining a local stamp club or online philatelic forum is also a great way to learn, trade, and get feedback on your collection. Sharing knowledge is one of the most rewarding parts of the hobby. Next up, none other than the Halfpenny green stamp featuring the revered image of King George V. This remarkable stamp is more than just a means of postage, it is a relic of an era, a miniature piece of art, and a valuable collectible that continues to inspire awe among collectors across the globe. We're going to explore every detail, from its historical origin to the intricacies of its design, from printing varieties to watermarks, from real-world auction prices to its market value in today's dollars. So sit back, relax, and let's take a journey into a time when stamps were not just used, but treasured. To understand the true significance of the King George V Halfpenny green stamp, we need to look back at the reign of a monarch who is often called the philatelist king. King George V, who ruled from 1910 to 1936, was not only a powerful figure in the British Empire but also one of the most passionate stamp collectors in history. His personal collection, now housed in the Royal Philatelic Collection, is regarded as the most valuable and comprehensive of its kind. During his reign, stamp design and production were overseen with extraordinary attention to detail, and as a result, stamps issued in this period are held in high regard by philatelists everywhere. The Halfpenny green stamp is among the most widely known from this era, printed for basic postage needs like newspapers, circulars, and postcards. Despite being a low-value stamp in terms of face value, it has since become a high-value collectible in terms of philatelic worth. Let's first appreciate the visual and symbolic design of this legendary stamp. The deep green ink used on the Halfpenny stamp was deliberately chosen to signify its economical purpose while maintaining visibility and elegance on posted material. The center of the stamp features a finely engraved left-facing profile of King George V, presented in a dignified and regal manner. His portrait is surrounded by an oval frame adorned with laurel leaves, a symbol of victory, and topped with the imperial crown, representing the power and unity of the British monarchy. Below the portrait, you can see intricate maritime designs, dolphins and waves, echoing Britain's long-standing naval strength and its control of sea routes across the empire. The corner numerals indicating 1/2, and the inscriptions postage and revenue emphasize that this stamp was used not only for letters but also for official government documentation. Now, let's get into the heart of what every collector wants to know: how much is this stamp worth in today's market, in dollars? The answer depends on several critical factors: condition, mint status, centering, presence of original gum, watermark type, perforation, and rarity of printing variation. A used Halfpenny green stamp in average condition, with a clear postmark and no major faults, will typically fetch between $2 to $10 on the open market. However, if you are lucky enough to own a mint condition stamp, especially unmounted mint, which means the gum has never been disturbed, you could be looking at a market value between $25 and $100, depending on centering and freshness. Exceptional mint examples with full margins, strong color, and no hinge marks have sold for over $200, especially when accompanied by certificates of authenticity from respected philatelic institutions. Watermarks also play a vital role in determining value. The royal cipher and multiple cipher watermarks, which appear as faint patterns when viewed from the back of the stamp under light, are indicators of the printing period. Some of the rarer watermarks are highly sought after by specialists. There are even recorded instances of inverted watermarks, shifted impressions, or printing plate flaws, all of which increase rarity and can elevate the value of the stamp dramatically. A halfpenny green with a confirmed error can bring in hundreds, even thousands of dollars, especially at public auctions or philatelic exhibitions. For example, a rare mint positional block with an inverted watermark sold at a leading auction house for more than $1,200, proving that even a low-denomination stamp can achieve premium status when it carries unique characteristics. The popularity of King George V stamps has grown consistently in recent years, with philatelic societies, online forums, and auction houses reporting increased interest in definitive issues from this period. This is not surprising. Stamps from the early 20th century are increasingly recognized as tangible, historical artifacts. The halfpenny green, in particular, is a central piece for collectors building a complete King George V collection. It is also essential for those interested in British definitives, pre-war postal history, and even thematic collections involving royal portraiture or maritime imagery. Because the stamp was used extensively across Britain and the Commonwealth, including India, South Africa, Australia, New Zealand, and the Caribbean, it appears in postal archives and collections from all corners of the former empire. Beyond single stamps, there is also strong demand for multiples, such as blocks of 4, gutter pairs, marginal copies with printing plate numbers, and complete sheets. A block of 4 mint halfpenny green stamps can easily command $150 to $350, depending on condition and watermark type. A complete sheet, especially one with plate markings, marginal notes, or printing guidelines, is extremely rare and can fetch $1,000 or more at top-tier auctions. Meanwhile, covers, envelopes or postcards bearing the halfpenny green are also highly collectible, especially those with unusual destinations, ship mail markings, or dated during wartime. A used on cover example sent during the early years of World War I with a clear date and censor mark could easily bring in $100 to $200, particularly if it has historical or military significance. If you own a halfpenny green stamp, now is the perfect time to evaluate its condition and consider whether it might be worth certifying or selling. Use tools like watermark detectors, magnifiers, and perforation gauges to carefully study your stamp. Look for faults like creases, thinning, or discoloration, which can reduce value, but also watch for unexpected traits like rare color shades or postmarks from small, now-defunct towns. Reference professional catalogs such as Stanley Gibbons, Scott Specialized, and Michel, all of which provide updated dollar-based pricing. You can also reach out to philatelic dealers, auction houses, or postal museums for expert guidance. Remember, knowledge is the most valuable tool in a collector's toolbox. As the market for classic stamps continues to grow in 2024, the King George V halfpenny green remains a strong and stable piece in any serious collection. Whether you are collecting for passion, education, investment, or all three, this stamp embodies everything philately has to offer: history, design, rarity, and potential. It links the past to the present and offers a timeless way to explore the stories of people, empires, and moments in time. And the best part? There's still so much to discover, especially in the corners of old albums, inherited boxes, or family drawers. Who knows what treasures you might already have? Thank you for staying with us for this extended exploration here at Stamps Old World UK. If you found this video informative, please give it a thumbs up, hit that subscribe button, and click the bell icon so you're always notified when we post new content. Share your stamp stories in the comments below, especially if you own a halfpenny green or any other King George V issues. Let's build a community of knowledge and passion. Until next time, keep collecting, keep preserving history, and always remember, a simple green stamp once worth half a penny might just be worth a fortune today, and its true value lies in the story it tells.